I have been enjoying two sets of videos on YouTube lately. This one, Petticoat Junction, put up by, I want to say, American Classics channel, and then the Bingefinger videos. And I've been talking back and forth with Bingefinger, but the YouTube Nazi raiders tend to delete all of my comments now. I mean, I tell them, hey, you know what? I really like your videos. I like the musical arrangement. Is that for sale, or where can I find it? And of course, it gets deleted because the Nazi raiders think I'm being mean to them. Well, no, it's the Nazi raiders being mean to me. I'm actually being kind to them, and they're retaliating against me with meanness, going against their own rules. So I am no longer doing comment sections. I'm going to do video reactions. Now, and the reason I've got this stopped here is Bingefinger asked me a question. I responded, and of course they deleted it immediately. I don't think they even posted it, because God knows I can't tell them anything, because I'm being mean by answering their questions. You know what, YouTube? You're violating America's freedom of speech. I know that you're a private platform, but guess what? You're public media. Yep. You know, if I took this to court, you'd lose, hands down. All right, so here we go. Bingefinger asked me about airlines/military. Okay, my response to that is, being a retired Marine, I'm sort of prejudiced toward the Marine Corps, but any single military man you ask in the United States will tell you, if you can get into them, the United States Air Force is the way to go. They have the best accommodations, bar none. We were living in barracks that had been condemned for 20 years by the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I came back to that unit 20 years later. My troops were still living in those barracks, and one of my men fell through the floor of the third story when he was taking a shower. We had little rooms about the size of a Motel 6 apartment with 4 people in it and one small bathroom for all 4 people, and there was a common area laundry facility on every floor that was shared by every room on that floor, and they had one washer and one dryer. Well, I think they had 2 washers and 2 dryers, but always one of each was broken all the time. They get one fixed, the other one break. So there were probably, I'm going to say, 60 rooms on each floor, each room having 4 men. So you figure 240 people using one dryer, one washer, trying to do their laundry. Okay, the moral of this story: they were building a brand new barracks across the road from us. They were condominium style. You had a living room. Well, you had like one apartment had a living room and 4 separate bedrooms. Bedrooms larger than what all 4 of us were staying in. Each bedroom had a bathroom in it. We only had one bathroom for all 4 of us people. They had honest to goodness bathrooms in each one of their rooms. They had a kitchenette and a living area and a washer and dryer for 4 people. We had a washer and dryer for 240 people. Huge difference. They immediately gave that to the Air Force, and the Air Force got like $2,000 a month extra money for living in substandard housing. We were getting $5 a month for living in condemned barracks. And when I say $2,000 a month, I'm talking about each person living in those barracks got another $2,000 on top of their paycheck. We got an extra $5 on top of our paycheck. And one of my Marines fell through to the floor below him because the floor caved in. So the Air Force, bar none, has better accommodations. And the training in the Navy and the Air Force is very, very well. And the Marine Corps, most people will say go Army next, but I say Marine Corps because Marine Corps is a part of the Navy, and our training is Navy/Army. We don't have, well, they made the mistake of deleting our training and putting it into our own hands, and then it became just as bad as the Army's, actually worse. I hope that it became better, but just before I got out, they destroyed our training. I mean, totally destroyed it. I was frantically trying to train every Marine coming fresh out of school who knew nothing. I mean, absolutely nothing. Trying to train them from the ground up before I left. Okay, so there is one other branch of the service that nobody knows anything about. It's called the Space Force. And the only thing that we know about them is that their hymn is funnier than their existence. And even on YouTube where it's posted, they have people from the Space Force chiming in, expressing embarrassment over their own song. And that in and of itself is funny. However, that said, it may be the first or second best of the 5 services. I'm not really sure about that. You'd have to really evaluate that on your own. Now, the next point is you can get aviation training, everything from aviation mechanics, avionics, the service industry to piloting in all 4 of the traditional services, and I'm not sure about Space Force. However, I'm fairly sure that to this day the standard still is Navy and Marine Corps are the only 2 that offer both fixed and rotor wing service. Now, fixed wing service is like your jets. Rotor wing is your helicopters. Army is strictly helicopters, they have no fixed wing. Air Force is strictly fixed wing, they have no helicopters. And Space Force, I don't think they finished the USS Enterprise spaceship yet. I could be wrong. I'm not sure what they have. But for industry where you can get out of the military and get a job with another company, the Air Force and the Navy and the Marine Corps training cannot be beat. Sorry, Army, you're behind. I know, I've worked for the Army for a long time now as a contractor, and you're way behind. Now, what I have here brings me to point 2. Petticoat Junction, a delightful old series from the 1960s, which actually there are still trains that run today, not steam engines like what's being displayed here, but people rely upon trains and subways. That is something else to consider. While you won't find any training on this really in the military, and if any recruiter tells you, oh yes, we can train you toward that, they're telling you a lie. Well, 1% truth, 99% lie. The 1% truth of it is they can train you toward this by making you an automotive diesel mechanic, where you'll be working on the big tanks and stuff like that, which loosely translates toward a job in the railroad business. Maybe tracks, learning how to drive tanks. Not so much, but okay, so they'll try to stretch that truth. Your best bet if you're going to do this is to go straight to the railroads and ask them about employment opportunities, what's required, etc., etc. Something else to consider, Job Corps. My youngest kid went through Job Corps, and I did not look back on that. I'm like, that was a great move. I want to thank Job Corps for the opportunity, and I will pump them up now forever. I wish I'd have thought of that when they were around when I was a young kid. I just never thought about them, and no one ever suggested it. It is something to look into. But and the whole reason I pulled this up here was I wanted to give you one more thing to think about, is the railroad industry. That actually, I wish I'd have thought of that too. I didn't even think about that. That gives you a chance to travel the country and learn a lot, meet a lot of people, and especially if you're like one of the cabin crew, where you go through and you check tickets and you give food if the train has food services. Oh, you have such a big opportunity on that. You don't even know. And it's probably a little bit safer than the airline industry. People do die on the tracks, but there's probably more planes that fall out of the air than trains that fall off the tracks. Now, granted, when a train is carrying hazardous material, no one survives. But and those that do wish they didn't. But when a plane comes out of the air, I don't want to talk bad about the plane industry, but they are relatively safe. But man, when there is a mess up, there's no, hey, we got a half a heartbeat to fix this, and you literally have a half a heartbeat to fix it in. If you can't fix it in a half a heartbeat, you're done. They don't give you parachutes to jump out of commercial airliners with. I don't even know if you could if you had one. Anyway, so that's my thoughts and suggestions for futuristic coming of age things to think about. And I wish I had thought of trains. That's actually not a bad idea. Something else to think about. Anyway, let's see if YouTube will post this, or if you even see it if they do. And this advice is good for anybody who's coming of age to start looking for jobs, and even some of those who are past that age who are jobless or unhappy in their jobs. Moving from an unhappy janitorial position into the railroad industry might be semi-easy. It might not be any happier, but it'll give you a different experience and probably more opportunity. If you're a janitor at IBM, where you don't have a college degree and you're scrubbing toilets, you're probably not going to do much more than that. Maybe you'll get moved into the mailroom, probably not. Railroads, they can train you from the ground up, and that's not a bad. I wish I had thought of that. Anyway, YouTube, I'm going to close this off. Y'all have a great day.